brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement studios. Why? Because that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking host, the good old boys. Suds. It's time for more Suds.
Welcome, everybody, to this Suds segment where good beer meets bad radio. I was always wondering what that greeting would sound like. Hey, how you doing? I'm bad radio. Would you shake with your left hand or your right hand? Is there like a secret hand signal that you would make during that greeting?
I think bad radio is a hugger.
And would it be a good? Would it be a good meat? I mean, let's face it.
I think bad radio is a hugger, but I think he's a hugger that hugs just a minute too long.
There you go. That's probably it. Well, this is good old boy Mike for this Sud segment. Joining me here at the table is good old boy Dave.
I am all that is man.
I think he starts thinking about that at least like 10 days in advance.
Guess who picks these sound bites, folks?
Yeah, I agree.
The fans pick them.
Good old boy Kendall's here.
It's a wonderful day to drink some beer.
Oh, wow. Isn't every day a good day to drink beer?
Absolutely.
All right. And good old boy Caperton.
Howdy.
Yep. Well, this Sud segment is going to be brought to you by the following.
The law offices of Scratchers J. Scratcherton. Are you a kitty? Do you need an attorney? Go to the law offices of Scratchers J. Scratcherton. She'll fight for her clients every time. Scratchers J. Scratcherton, attorney at law. She'll fight injustice and give her clients paw. Wait,
Today's episode is a brewery takeover. Well, actually, it's more of like a takeover and a half. So we have 4 beers from one of the most exciting or exceedingly craft breweries from the last several years.
Exceedingly exciting.
Yeah. Tired Hands Brewing Company from Ardmore, Pennsylvania, just outside Philadelphia. We'll have 4 beers from them today. And to round out this flight, we're going to have another beer from a small but very much up-and-coming brewery in that same area called Forest in Maine. Now, Dave, I'm guessing it would be a stretch goal for you to actually do some research on any of these breweries.
Ordinarily, you would be correct. However, as I have visited both of these breweries, I can tell you some things about them. For instance, they're both just outside Philadelphia.
Yeah, I believe that we already said that. Thank you very much.
All right, well, hold on. Let me consult my notes here. Let's see. Tired Hands Brewing Company was started by Jean Broilet. I guess that's how you say his name.
Jean Broilet.
Okay. Creme brulee, whatever. And his wife, Julie. He has previously brewed at Weyerbacher.
He's a high school graduate.
They're awesome.
Weyerbacher.
And,
I never learned to read.
and at Iron Hill. Both those places make great beer, by the way. Yeah. It was the original location is the Brew Cafe, not Brew Pub, Brew Cafe. But they also have the Funkateria, where they do a lot of their barrel aging. And did I mention that they're just outside Philadelphia?
Yeah. Okay.
That's where the cream cheese is from, right?
So what else can you tell us about Forest and Maine Brewing Company? And if you say that they're located on the corner of Forest and Maine, I will bring bodily harm to you, okay?
I have no comment.
Hey, look, guys, can we just start drinking this beer?
Yeah, that's about the only thing that's going to save us. So I completely agree. Caperton, will you tell us what Tired Hand beers we're going to have today as well as the Force and Maine?
Why, certainly I can do that. Gadfly, the Tired Hands Brewing Company we have today are gladly. What?
Yeah, right. No more beer for Caperton.
I'm not reading this anymore.
That's right, yeah.
You're usually not this bad to the third show.
Yeah.
Okay, so today from Tired Hands, we have their American Pale Ale, known as HopHands.
Is that the same thing as Jazz Hands, but it's with hops?
It looks sort of like their logo is a little jazz handy.
So
creepy,
jazz handy.
creepy jazz
the
hands.
logo, he started drawing that in college, but he never knew what it was for.
This is why I'm not invited to those marketing meetings, because I come up with these really
there
tough
are
questions.
other reasons you're not invited.
Right,
to
I'm sure.
places.
Like this next one.
Anywho, back to the beers we're drinking. So HopHands American Pale Ale, their 5 Leaves Left Double IPA, which is the 5th iteration of 5. If you follow
So does that
all
mean
the
there's like
fives there.
25 leaves
Five
left?
fives, correctly. And those were single hop beers, I think is what we're saying.
Yes, this one has Cascade.
And this is Cascade we're doing, the 5th iteration of 5 Leaves Left. Ourison, their Saison/Farmhouse Ale, and Seeds and Stems, a double IPA collaboration with Stillwater Brewing Company and from Forest and Main Brewing Company. So a triple threat there. Oh no, I'm reading all screwy again. Not a triple collaboration, just a double collaboration with Stillwater, Seeds and Stems.
Do you hold hands 3 times longer in a triple collaboration?
So the Seeds and Stems, we'll go into
Do you sing
that at the
Kumbaya
time.
in 3 different verses?
Okay,
Absolutely.
All right, bear with me. This is
This is complicated, folks.
There's a lot of words here, man.
Let's see.
And lastly,
Casting tryouts, take 4 for Caperton.
Forest and Main, which is not a collaboration. It's actually a brewery, as we mentioned earlier. Forest and Main Brewing Company, we have their Solaire Reserve, a farmhouse ale.
All right, folks. Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Jeez, sorry.
Thank you, Caperton.
There was, just to point out, there was a point where we said, let's go over this and look at it. And
Kendall, we're going to be doing something with these beers today. Would you please tell us the Suds ratings you're going to be using? Oh, and I want you to use your favorite Rocky Balboa accent.
yeah.
Yo, Adrian.
Okay, we'll be discussing and rating these beers with these Suds ratings, plus our signature belching sounds.
Better than I thought.
Hey, Mickey, hear those ratings now. Yo, Adrian, that sucks. Give me anything but a bud.
He's really good at this.
He is.
Oh, Paulie, was that a belch? Cut me, Mick. Ah, what a relief. You know, I'm going to say to Apollo, a body should really not make that sound. And number 5. Listen to that hang time. Give me another. I'm the greatest.
That was pretty awesome.
I'm going to have to say that was a good setting the bar really high.
That was. That's the best Suds ratings we've
Kendall
had in
stepped
a while.
up and knocked that one out of there.
I think giving him a good advance notice and us drinking enough beer brought that around. So, you know,
I'm a fan.
yeah, a fan of what though? So Philadelphia, really great, you know, beer area. And I was thinking about some things. We mentioned Iron Hill, and I remember spending quite a bit of time in Westchester, which was really kind of the back yard for Michael Jackson, who is really kind of like
The king of pop.
He is the king of, you know, defining American beer, at least in print form. And so I really enjoyed getting to, you know, get to know Philadelphia itself. We were having some fun talking about the Rocky Balboa statue that is it's on the public library steps because it's actually part of the movie if you haven't seen it. But they keep moving it around.
Is it kind of ironic that they would put a statue of a boxer with a lot of head damage on the steps of a library?
Is that the inspiring point of leadership in the Philadelphia area?
It's so Philly.
It's so Philly. I was thinking of like a Desperate Flyers, you know, fan, just, you know, kind of sitting on the steps going, when are they going to win? You know? Yeah. Something like that. But I really love the area, and there are a lot of really great, you know, places to enjoy beer in the area. Probably one of the most famous is Monk's Cafe. So it's a really great place. It's one of the few places you can get Pliny the Younger on the West Coast, or is it Pliny the Elder?
Pliny the Elder on the East Coast.
Pliny, yeah, I always get which one. Pliny the Younger is the one that's available. Pliny the Elder is the one that's difficult to find, right?
Younger is available one day.
Yeah,
okay.
And usually
gotta-
at Santa Rosa.
I always get those backwards. So, yeah, it's a really great place. And another place that's really close to Monk's Cafe is the Belgian Cafe, which is, I think, just a couple of blocks away from Monk's. And I really enjoy both of those. So some really great Belgian bars and great beer, just a great beer scene, in Philadelphia itself. I'm so glad we're getting to talk about Tired Hands. It was one of my favorite beers from the Shelton Beer Festival. But we're not having that beer here today, but we are having some other ones that we're going to get to talk about. So I'm looking forward to all these. So these hop beers that we have in the lineup, lupulin powder, not lupulin powder, do we know?
I don't think so. They don't taste like they're lupulin powder.
They're juicy.
Yeah.
Kind of juicy, but is that more from the grain bill? I mean, like the texture, the soft texture?
Well,
I don't know.
I'll tell you what. Let me introduce this first beer. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it. First beer we're going to talk about today is HopHands. This is an American Pale Ale. Excuse me. It's 4.8%. Here is the description. I'll let you think about this. Our exceedingly aromatic pale ale, brewed with oats and hops, with a blend of Amarillo, Simcoe, and Centennial. So, while you're at the break, I want you to think about all of the times that you would describe something as exceedingly. Exceedingly, yes. Like, exceedingly, I'm watching too much cable TV.
We've said the word exceedingly too many times.
Way too many times. I think we're exceedingly stretching all the way into the first break.
Well, this silence is exceedingly disturbing.
We'll be right back after this break.
Rolling clouds and crashing surf, iridescent dunes reflecting by the light of the rising, glowing moon. Seashore mesmerizing, night breeze hypnotizing. We've come across these back roads none too soon. Look to the left, to the right. Keep your eyes on the road, my darling. Wondering if we're only passing through. Open roads and open windows. My hand is yours forever, sweet love.
Hey, welcome back to Sips, Suds, and Smokes. This is good old boy Mike. And on today's Suds episode, we are going over a flight from Tired Hands Brewing and Forest in Maine. And we were just introducing the exceedingly awesome first beer, which was HopHands from Tired Hands. So did you come up with any other times you really need to use the words exceedingly? I'm exceedingly bored at a wedding, or
Is it better to say exceedingly than excessively?
Well,
Yes, excessively is too much, man.
it depends on whether
a little too much.
It depends on whether you're northern or southern, drift in the U.S. So
Exceeding is just
see, if you're on the West Coast, you can use those
Like you're
words
just
either way.
exceedingly, you're just really ambitious. Like you
Yeah.
went for it.
110%,
But excessively,
baby.
you overdid it.
Okay,
excessively is
okay,
like
that makes
150.
So we'll see if they exceedingly hit our taste profile for this. What are your tasting notes here on HopHands?
I thought I found the aroma to not be exceedingly aromatic. But keeping in mind that this is a pale ale sitting next to a couple of double IPAs, so you have to kind of keep that in perspective. But if you're going to say that something is exceedingly aromatic, it should be
Exceedingly,
aromatic.
and it wasn't.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a good pale ale. I do. I don't think it's amazing or anything, but it's a pale ale. Like if I lived near there, I would go there and I would drink pints of this all the time.
I thought of the 3 hops. I thought the Simcoe was the star of the blend. That's what I was picking up in some measure point of exceedingly dominating.
Yeah, when I first was trying to get at those exceeding aromatics, the first thing that hit my nose was just a little hint of cattiness, which I sometimes can get from the Simcoe.
Yeah.
But immediately then it just transitioned into those citrus fruits, a lot of grapefruit. But I didn't think it was very big on the nose. It's a good beer. It's nice and crisp.
I'd like to say that this beer falls into a category that I think merits a discussion on its own, and that is a beer that has instructions on the label for you how to store it and to drink it right away.
So there are excessive instructions or exceedingly excessive.
There's an exceeding amount of words on this label.
Yeah.
And
what are the instructions?
And they say that it is hyper fresh, unfiltered, and fragile, and that you should enjoy the contents ASAP. Now, this beer is only like 2 weeks old, so I mean, I think this
should be okay
within the window.
Yeah.
But I think you also kind of open the door there of plausible deniability of saying, sorry, dude, you didn't drink it fresh enough.
Yeah.
You know, so you drove it. Oh, you didn't drink it at the tap room.
You didn't drink it before we put it in the can, did you? Well, there you go.
But I'll say I thought it was great. I'm partial to pale ales over some other styles. I like the shallow end of the pool, so to speak.
I do think that it stepped a little too far down the path of an IPA, though, just because
the distinction is hard to draw.
It is, and I tend to think of APAs as being a bit more malt forward and not necessarily having the measured.
This was a softie, for sure.
Bitterness, in terms of the finish itself, and that was one thing from a stylistic, perspective. I thought it was just not an APA, but just looking at the beer itself, I just thought that it was fair, average, kind of a fair balance to it all. I would give this to somebody that would say, "Do you have an IPA that's not so hoppy?" Well, there you go.
Yeah, it's almost like those low end,
like a
low
Pivo
ABV session IPA,
like a Pivo Pils.
Yeah. It's got the flavor, but it's very light.
Right. Yeah.
It's a very murky territory. There you go.
Well, our Sip Suds and Smokes rating for HopHands from Tired Hands is going to be a 3. Our next beer on this adventure is going to be Seeds and Stems. It is a American Double Imperial IPA, 8.4% ABV, and here are the notes from the brewery. Seeds and Stems is an oak-conditioned hemp seed double IPA we brewed in collaboration with our buddy Brian from Stillwater Artisanal. Brewed with Pilsner malt, oat malt, wheat malt, as well as 150 pounds of a wholesome hemp seed, conditioned on American and French oak, spirals, and dry hopped with Galaxy, Simcoe, Citra, and Columbus. Far out notes of honeydew. Yeah. So we were looking at this going, what would you describe as wholesome hemp seeds as opposed to non-wholesome hemp seeds? I mean, do you walk up to the counter and going, "Hey, do you have any non-wholesome hemp seeds today here?"
Well, you can buy the wholesome ones in the front room, but for the unwholesome ones,
that's where you
got
to
go to the back.
You got to know a guy.
Loading dock.
Who comes up with this?
Got to go to the loading dock.
I think it depends on who's growing them. Is it a nice wholesome dude or is some dirty hippie?
So
what is the difference between those things?
Well, if these were Amish grown hemp seeds, that would be wholesome.
That'd be exceedingly wholesome.
Yeah. What if they're certified organic?
I think Brian just grabbed a bag of something they had left over and said, "Let's toss this in and see what happens." Yeah. That's what I think.
Okay.
So what else did you guys think about Simpsons? Seeds and Stems from Tired Hands.
I thought this one was exceedingly aromatic. In fact, I thought the best thing about the beer. I picked up just huge tropical fruit and melon notes up front, but then in the flavor, it was a little more muddled. It had been on oak, and I was picking up a little tannic bite from that, and it just seemed like there were a lot of things going on in the flavor, and I thought they were kind of clashing with each other.
I think one of the most unique aromas, definitely in this flight, but period. I don't think I've smelled a beer that quite, was like this. And that was one thing, was just the unique element of this. But it did smell wholesome.
I'll say that as this beer is warmed, I mean, I liked it. I like it a little more now that it's starting to really kind of express itself a little bit now that it's warmed.
Kind of rounding out a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. But
it's getting a lot more fuller.
It is.
The sugars are kind of opening up, and it's really kind of hanging around, the palate a lot longer.
But like a lot of collaborations, I think that this has been a discussion going on amongst friends for a while about
do you make better beer together?
Or what is a collaboration?
Leave
beer?
each other alone, and
I think our expectations, like great plus great, has to equal amazing, right? So that when it doesn't, we're like,
I think I'm in the camp of just sing Kumbaya together, send Christmas cards, but not brew together. Okay,
drink together, don't brew together.
Yeah, do your thing, man.
But anyway, I feel like this is no exception to the collaboration curse. But that said, I was pretty pleased with it.
I think it was, of the hoppy beers, this had the most dynamic and interesting flavors and aromas. The others were softer. I don't know that I felt like the barrel, or not the barrels, but the oak spirals. I don't feel like I got a lot of contribution out of them.
I think Kendall nailed it. It's just everything's just kind of muddled in there, and it's nothing really seems distinct,
Yeah, it just seemed like this was stepping down a path where they were looking at experimentation with both ingredients as well as staving and wood presentation, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe like the 5th iteration of this would be a lot better than the first one.
Maybe when it first came out, it was really sharp, and they thought, okay, we'll put it on oak for a little bit. And
I'm not sure what the thinking
I don't know
was
what the
there.
plan was.
A lot going on there.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, our rating for Seeds and Stems for Tired Hands Brewing is going to be a 3. Moving right on along. We're going to get to our next beer, which is from Tired Hands as well, called 5 Leaves Left. And we skipped 1 leaf and 2 leaf and 3 leaves, and we're on the 5th iteration. So each of these was, we believe, was a unique hop presentation. Here's the description. It's an American Double Imperial IPA. The ABV on this is 8%. Here is a quick description from the brewery. 5 Leaves Left, or the 5th, or V, is the 5th. It is the 5th and final installment in our series of single hop double IPAs.
Made my head hurt.
I know, with a single added sugar. This iteration was brewed with a base of malted oats and jaggery, a sugar derived from palm sap.
As opposed to Mick Jaggery.
I don't know. We're going to talk about
You don't want that in your beer. I can tell you that.
Hops singly and intensely with the ever so important Cascade, notes of bright tangerine, citrus flower, coconut flesh, cut grass, and solitude. What the heck does solitude taste like?
You just had to figure that out
Fell
on your
off
own.
the beam there.
Hang on a second. Are you getting like exceedingly solitude off this, or what kind, really?
I like how they say solitude at the end of like 5 descriptors.
Yeah.
So are you getting 5 iterations of solitude, or just
Kinda
one
like
iteration
when
of
people
solitude?
say this tastes like sadness, or,
This is also why I'm not invited to those marketing meetings, right?
It's a tough job.
Yeah.
What you guys think of the 5th iteration of the single hop?
This was
beer
my
here?
favorite beer of the flight, just because the flavors and actually the aroma and the mouthfeel all were very soft. But as this thing is warmed up, I feel like the flavors and aromas are coming out more, but it still has a really nice mouthfeel to me. And like I said, it's kind of softer and more balanced and well-rounded. I like this beer a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was great. It was of the hoppy beers. It was my favorite. I still think I liked one of the farmhouses better, but this was, I think, really nice, soft and creamy. It had a little sweetness in the middle, then it finishes dry and bitter.
That's that jaggery.
Yeah, the Jaggery's doing that.
Right in the middle.
The thing I like about it, and I love Cascade hops. I think they're overlooked. They're definitely not the cool hop anymore, but just that beautiful traditional grapefruit, a little bit of piney bitterness.
I agree.
It just worked really well in this beer.
I wrote the same thing, that it was a nice nod to tradition there with the Cascade hop.
Can you guys think of any other single hop Cascade beers that are comparative? I know we've had several breweries that have done this, where they've done, a single hop series, but is there like a standard, commercial example of Cascade hop beer?
Not like this.
Yeah.
I don't think most people, like to Kendall's point, I don't think most people right now are using Cascade as a single hop or even as a primary hop. It usually goes into the blend, but usually
and all of the single hop stuff we're seeing, especially in these New England IPAs, they're trying to do the really up and coming
Idaho 7
New World,
the New Worldy stuff that's just really hip and new and giving us all those new
and that's
great
great.
flavors.
That's great. I mean,
It's very experimental.
I got some sweet melons up front on this, kind of a subtle sweet bitterness, off this. I'm not really a huge fan of Cascade, of Cascade hops. So
Cascade the dancer, he really likes.
Yeah.
Welcome to the stage.
As long as it's exceedingly, I'm okay with it. So if it's like exceedingly Cascade
She
hops,
has nice melons in the
I'd
front
probably
too.
be just fine with this, But the whole thing with the sugar that they chose to use off this, I wonder if that is, really creating some unique flavor profile here. Because when I'm looking at the sugars in this, I don't see anything, or I'm not tasting anything where I go, wow, that's something, markedly different. And I'm betting that sugar has got to be, like 10 times the price, of just regular cane sugar.
Sure.
Yep. I don't even know where you get Jaggery.
Yeah. Probably at the same place you buy Exceedingly Solitude.
Despite all that,
do you think the Jaggery was wholesome?
Probably, yeah. So this is why we're not invited to the marketing meetings collectively, Dave.
So if it's palm sugar, do you have to add it by the handful?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
No effect? No rim shot off that? There you go. See, I knew you'd come around.
You're
Yeah.
laying down over there, man.
I thought that joke spoke for itself, though.
You're right. It didn't need embellishment.
So did anybody have any of the other single hop version out of this line?
No,
A lot of
wish I
head
did.
nodding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wonder if this was, a pinnacle moment, or if this was, oh crap, we've got this last one to do.
They built up to this, or
Yeah, because I've seen, as other brewers have kind of gone into this, point of, actually doing single hop. It seems like they get into it like two hops into it, and it's like, oh crap, these are not tasting like I thought they would,
Yep.
And then they start goosing with them to say, oh man, I'm brewing like 400, barrels of stuff that's not selling, and I need to fix it on the fly. And they don't recognize that, single hop presentation is not something that beer consumers are really used to, in terms of a flavor profile.
That's
so
a good
something
point.
that really should have wound up as a pilot program, in a
sort
tap
of deal.
room only,
Yeah.
situation. It winds up, going commercial, and people are going, I don't get this.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and we've seen,
That's a good point.
some other things like that. I'm thinking of definitely a couple of runs, with Galaxy and especially Nugget,
Right.
hop, where they go, what was I thinking? Yeah, you weren't. So you were thinking,
A Saz single hop.
Sometimes the consumer just doesn't want to be educated, right? They just want a good beer.
yeah, there you go.
Just give me a good beer.
something to
you
drink.
know?
I want an exceedingly wholesome good beer. So
I'd be remiss not to say hats off for the Nick Drake
Absolutely.
reference as well on this beer.
This would be a good thing to do, kind of like what like Revolution did with their Hero
Yeah.
League of Heroes,
yeah,
where you put it into a combo pack and you can taste.
That way you can taste all five. And,
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, I've even seen people sit down and do blending on the back end, just out of cans, and they're coming up with their own proportions of what hops, they like, almost like as a mad scientist, kind of blending kit.
Single hop beers may be best released in little groups like that.
Yeah. I agree.
If you
So
really
that
want
would've-
people to understand it, you have to let them taste it side by side.
I think that's a good example that you had from Revolution and the way they released that as a common pack. That would have.
Well, I'm pretty smart, so I mean, I do things like that.
All right, everybody who thinks that Dave is exceedingly just really way above his pay grade, raise your hand. Right? Yeah. Dave raised his hand as well. That was what was funny about that. So,
Screw you guys.
well, our Sip Suds and Smokes rating for 5 leaves left is going to be a 4.
The 5th iteration.
The 5th iteration of the 5 leaves left.
V.
The V.
The V.
It was exceedingly almost a 4. So yes. Well, we have a couple more beers to talk about on today's episode, but do you, when you're looking back at what they've done here with HopHands, which was the first one we kind of led into, do you like how they're kind of playing around with hop blends, or you like how they went down this path of, doing a single hop series? Which do you like them as blenders or the single hop brewer kind of thing?
I think they both have their place.
Sure. I'm going to say blending, though, because I think for the Northeastern IPA anyway, which they're sort of
You got to have,
they're known for.
if you really want to build that big, juicy kind of flavor.
You can't get there with usually just one hop.
Unless it's Mosaic, which is the perfect hop that's better than all other hops, and you can use it for
That's
anything.
debatable, too.
I thought the mix on the hop hands worked really well together.
Yeah, it did too.
That Amarillo, Simcoe, and Centennial, they each played off each other and brought different types of bitterness, different types of fruitiness.
Yeah, I think it's just really tough to create a great commercially viable beer with single hop. That's all.
Stuff,
So,
for sure.
Unless it's Mosaic.
hey, we'll be right back after this break.
Just the destination, but baby, the whole elation of riding down this lover's avenue. As slow as a willow blows, or as fast as the whirlwind grows, we glide beneath the stars in cobalt blue. Look to the left, to the right, keep your eyes on the road, my darling, wondering if we're only passing through. Open roads and open windows, my hand is yours forever, sweet love. Our eyes ahead on these back roads with a view.
Hey, welcome back to Sip Suds and Smokes. On today's episode, we're going through the exceedingly awesome Tired Hands Brewing Company, along with a beer from Forest in Maine. And we have a couple more beers that we're going to go over. Our next beer is going to be called Ourison. Is that right? Did I say that?
Ourison.
We think.
Okay. I like my screwed up pronunciation a lot better than yours. All right.
Well, that's one person.
Phonetically speaking.
Correct. Yeah.
Our
I like the way I make it
Ourison.
up. Yeah. Ourison. Yeah. I like that even better. This beer is a Saison farmhouse ale. It is 4.8% ABV, and here is a quick description from the brewery. Ourison represents the progression and evolution of our Saison fermentation program. Ourison is our Saison hands, left to condition in oak and then allowed to fully express itself exceedingly via a lengthy bottle conditioning period. Sorry, I had slipped that in. The end result is a highly refined, snappy, and pungent Saison that I feel, or they feel, is one of the most simplistic and exciting iterations of Saison that we have ever produced. And I am sitting next to somebody that goes to great pains to create the perfect Saison. So I am just dying to know what Caperton thinks about this beer.
And
is it
go.
exceedingly a Saison? And
Is it wholesome?
if you need to go get a cup of coffee right now, this is the good time. Take Caperton along with you for this ride. So,
Well, yeah, it is true. I'm quite fond of the style, and
Quite fun. That's a little.
that is an understatement. That's exceedingly understated.
I'm exceedingly fond of the Saison style, and of the beers we had from Tired Hands. Predictably, this was probably my favorite. But that said, they are correct, and it goes to the style in that these traditionally were pretty simple beers, right? I mean, they weren't super, they were made to be chugged, basically.
By farmhands.
Yeah, or workers or whoever. Yeah. That definitely kind of comes through in this beer, I think, and they indicated as such that I feel like
Rustic.
Well, I don't know. In my opinion, rustic can be pretty complicated, right? I mean, rustic could also indicate just a whole bunch of different grains and stuff.
as long as it's wholesome.
A lot of barnwood.
Grain
too.
is grain. We've been
Lot
taught
of
over the
Jagger.
years
Yeah.
by cereal manufacturers, Mike, that there's nothing more wholesome
Than
than
whole
grain.
grain.
Possibly milk,
Whole grain plus milk.
but the
That's
whole
where you
birth
really get
defect thing back. That kind of- Sorry, went down a dark path of our American
I'm
history.
feeling this
there.
is going to be a topic that we're just not going to have enough time for.
Now everyone's crying.
Birth defects and wholesome grains.
The dairy industry sectors.
Grief.
And back to the beer.
But
So we've just alienated all
so
the
I'm
dairy
gonna say
farmers.
with just those few elements of sort of a lemony tartness from either the grain or the yeast or the combination of the two, of light oakiness, and then some fruity, spicy Saison character.
I like the fact that it's 4.8%.
Yeah,
It's a small beer, which is Saison should
Saison should be.
Yeah.
Right? And America, we go kind of crazy with that. So to have an American manufacturer of a Saison that's clocking in at under 5%,
That's pretty impressive.
that to me, they get a nod for that alone, because that's not where the consumer usually spends their money. But back to the beer. This beer, I thought it was super balanced. Nothing really clubbed you over the head here, but you caught every bit of what I think they were trying to accomplish here, which was the barrel, the tartness, the yeast, and the combination of those really drove this beer.
Definitely tart.
Yeah, and I love that little tartness to it. It's very. I wrote down here. This is a great palate cleansing beer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so crisp, so tart. I thought the simplicity is what made this a great beer, because a Saison, that's a broad category. People are doing a lot of different things in Saisons, and some are wonderfully complex. But this one was simplistic, but that's in the best way. It's clean, it's crisp, it's just a delicious beer that's not trying to do a lot, but it does it really well.
Yeah. And I think this beer would taste fresh a year from now. I think it would taste very much like it tastes today.
I think you're right.
The thing that came to mind really fast when I had this was the dipstick, sugar,
talking about
sweet
me?
tart. No, not you, not that dipstick.
Dippin' sticks.
Dip and stick,
Yeah. Oh,
it has
Kool-Aid with a
Flavor Aid.
sugary stick.
Well, because
That's what
that
was.
has a lot of the same flavor profile in terms of the tart aspect, but that powdery sugar, aspect was what I was really kind of getting off of this as well. And I don't know, I think that was a bit off-putting, for me. I guess I just
That's
I'm looking for maybe something that is a bit more creamy in a saison or farmhouse.
More wholesome.
More wholesome. There was a
exceedingly wholesome.
I thought there was a very distinctive dry finish off this as well, and that was something else that I was kind of like, okay. So we're really going down the path of just doing a kettle sour. We're off to a basic lambic beer. Headed down this path. Maybe we're not using full blown bugs, but
saisons should be pretty dry, though. I mean, stylistically speaking.
Yeah, I agree, but maybe I was looking at the word farmhouse instead of saison because I think of saisons.
Farmhouse is a very confusing term.
Yes.
Yeah. So, that was one thing that kind of stuck out with me.
When we first had this and it was cold, I looked at the simplicity on it kind of as a drawback. I just felt like it was kind of one dimensional, but as it's warmed up, and
it has not gotten better.
I think it has. I think the tartness rounds out a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think the dry finish is. I never felt like the dry finish was a negative on it, but
my favorite beers are dry as a bone, as they say. And
so maybe I was
a lot of people
it's like
criticize
an empty
those
bottle.
beers
So
for
maybe
that.
I was looking for something that was going to be in balance with this, kind of tart aspect that was going off this, and I was looking for either more sugar or something that was going to be in some counterbalance,
not
to
a ton
that
of body,
as well.
So that's probably
Well, that was
you're
kind of the
missing
thing.
that.
There was a little bit of a one-dimensional feel to it, but like I said, it's gotten a little bit better as it warmed up. But I still don't think it's, I think it's a good beer, but I don't think it's outstanding.
Yeah.
But then you also always have to go back and keep in mind it's 4.8%, so you are gonna get some restrictions on things with that.
Well, that does it for our tasting notes on Tired Hands Ourison. See, I can say it in multiple ways and confuse or Ourison, or please send us a note to let us know how to pronunciate this.
And 10 more
correctly.
bottles.
Our Sip Suds, our Sip Suds and Smokes rating for this is going to be a 3. All right, so I figured out the beer that I really enjoyed, at Shelton Brothers. It's called the Daily Personal Best. Yeah, so this is I remember having that beer and it was just so amazing. It was so
great.
Fresh. So yeah, if you want to send a corny keg of that, for us, as a production research, just let us know. I'll let you know where.
That beer was 11%, by the way.
Yeah, that's probably
That's where you started at
Well-
Shelton Brothers with an 11% beer.
it was
And he
tasty.
ended up on the floor.
Could have been 40%.
No wonder it was
for
your
all I care.
favorite.
It was really good.
That first one, whatever that first one was.
It was the one with no line and righteous
I
beer.
just don't like drinking it, but I like when I feel good after it.
Yeah, and I still can't say the name of Ourison correctly.
Speaking of lines and Shelton Brothers, and I'm just going to throw this in. There was a point on the second session where I was very close to the gate at the VIP. It was my VIP session, and this was going to be the chance to get Cantillon, right? Because the line was like a 30-minute line for Cantillon, pretty much.
Overrated.
So as I'm not going to run because I'm Dave, right? Sure. So I'm not going to run for beer.
I want video of you running. That's
I'm not
what
going
I
to
want.
run for beer. So I was walking swiftly, as we call it, and
He is a long strider.
I
though.
could see them, man. They were waiting on me, right?
Yeah.
He had the bottle. He was looking. We made eye contact, and my eye drifted off to the left, and I saw another brewer. I won't even say who, but I just sort of, it was that second, in that second, that just sort of looked away and kind of drifted off that direction. Like 60 people got in front of me, So I didn't get it.
It's a skill.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. I
It
should
seemed
have.
like they had Cantillon in multiple spots though.
They did.
Like,
They did. That was kind of the
super
secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to know a guy to know a guy.
Yeah.
Well, we got about another 5 minutes to cover our last beer of the day, which is actually from Forest in Maine. This is the Solaire Reserve, and this beer is a Saison farmhouse ale as well. It is 5% ABV, And here's some quick notes from the brewer. Our 5% Saison, Solaire, bottled with several strains of Brett.
That's it.
It says it all right there, Jay.
They're not exceeding in the descriptors.
That may be my favorite beer description ever.
That's it.
It's a beer.
Yeah, that would be my favorite.
size.
That would be my
Yeah.
favorite beer description, which is it is a beer. Enjoy. Yes, correct.
This beer is really good.
Yes.
Lots
In
of
fact,
lemons.
I'm pouring a little more.
Yeah.
Nice complex flavors and aromas. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's so clear, which tells me they probably filtered it. And I wish they hadn't. I want some of the bits.
Yeah, maybe.
So we were talking about how the last one was so simple, and that's what I really enjoy about this is the simplicity of this particular
Yeah,
beer.
these beers were both pretty.
But
kinda
lots
in
of
the same
lemons.
ballpark.
Did I mention
for
there's
sure.
lemons?
Yeah, for sure.
Lots of lemons.
I got right in the middle where that almost a dank funkiness starts up and then carries on through the aftertaste. And it's just got
can
that
see that.
classic funky, almost like a funky cheese flavor going on.
Yeah.
But some fruit too. I get some beautiful. I get a little pineapple on the nose, not so much in the flavor, but yeah, really good beer.
Yep. Nice hay.
Well,
Hey.
So one of the things we always talk about, with Brett beers is what are you covering up? It's one of those things that are you making up for the sins of something that, went wrong, along the way somewhere?
I don't think that's the case here.
I don't think every
you're
beer's
adding a layer of complexity.
And I agree. That is what I was going to say on the other side of this is that exactly that. I actually think this was very good stylistically.
And I think you can taste everything else.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know anything about Forest and Maine. And, Dave, I think you've been there, right?
It's a house on the corner of Forest and Maine.
There you go. They seem really classy. I like
Our
their
crack
label.
research department.
In the bar is built into a double wide doorway between a front room and probably what would be the dining room or a
Yeah.
hallway.
I'd love that unless there were like 700 people there.
Yeah, no, it was later in the evening when we were there, and they only had about 4 or 5 beers on tap, I think, but they were all really.
I've been
really
told
good.
I would love them.
Yeah, they would.
And this beer
and
would
they would
indicate
love you.
that everybody's right. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was cool. Like there were people out on the porch and, sitting around on the side of the house and on the front porch and the front yard and, hanging off the roof and stuff. It was a nice place. Yeah.
That's a nice vibe.
Yeah. You could eat dinner
I
there.
think this beer managed again with the barest of elements, a little more complexity than the Tired Hands.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Agreed.
Farmhouse for sure.
Well, when I was tasting them in the flight, we had basically everything in this same order, that we were going through today. And I didn't recognize that this beer was actually from a different brewery. And I was like, oh, so basically the Solaire is the Brett version of the Ourison. And not recognizing that they are not even from the same brewery itself. So, yeah,
I think
you definitely didn't.
I think a little more of the grain came through in the Forest and Maine, in the Solaire Reserve for sure. There's a little bit more body to this beer.
Yeah, I think the Solaire Reserve is a beer that you walk out in a full blown, 64-ounce growler and go, yeah, it's time to sit down.
I love these green. I love these green
Yeah,
bottle
it is.
beers too, like from the
get a
Temple
little
of
bit
Saint
of that
Bob.
skunky funky.
Yeah, I think.
Do they have it-
just a slightest little hint of that can really
on
be
their
add-
bottle. They have exceedingly difficult instructions on how to store it and pour it.
It's a beautiful label. Yeah, they just say don't drink this if you're pregnant.
Well, that's optional in the state of Alabama, right?
Banned once again.
I was wondering if we were going to get our, ubiquitous Alabama joke.
It's going to happen. I was just looking for the magical moment. So,
This beer's pretty young,
Yeah.
so it is at risk.
oh yeah, we forgot to talk about your neighbor. Anyway, so
Underage, yeah.
That was subtle.
our let's wrap up our Suds ratings for Solaire Reserve from Forest and Maine.
Oh yeah,
Our rating there is going to be a 4 for this. And I know we're supposed to go into the end of the show, but I only have of our script. Did anybody else have the closing script? Oh,
We hope you enjoyed this episode, and you can catch all of our episodes online as well. SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, PRX, and Spreaker, our native media host. I want to thank iTunes, Google Play, and our own Android app are the easiest way to enjoy the show on your phone. Just search for Sip Suds Smokes on iTunes or in the Google Play Store.
We love your feedback, and you can reach us online at info@SipSudsAndSmokes. Our daily tasting notes flow out on Twitter and Instagram every day at Sip Suds Smoke, and our Facebook page is always buzzing with lots of news.
Please take the time to rate this episode if you're listening online. I want to thank each of our co-hosts today. Mike.
You stumped him.
Thanks for coming, and keep on sipping. And we wanted to let everybody know about Kendall's blog, too.
Tell us about Beer Makes 3.
Oh, my wife and I blog about the good news of good beer at beermakes3.com.
Good old boy Caperton.
I'm just good old boy Caperton, and I had a great time today.
Good old boy Dave.
Dave looked confused.
I usually have a noise to play, but I will just say, hey, check out my 60-second beer reviews on Instagram at Good Old Boy Dave.
Absolutely.
This is Good Old Boy Dave telling you to keep on chuggling.
This has been a one-tan-hand production of Sip Suds and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see you all next time.